Hello everyone, and welcome back to what will be the second update video here on the new layout construction. So as you can tell, it's probably looking a little different from the last video. So I've gotten a lot of scenery work done. So since we last saw, you saw in the last video, I still work on the track work. I still am working on the track work, but since then, the track that is down, I have painted and weathered with the airbrush, as you can see. Just using a mixture of colors to make it look worn and lighten up a little bit, but also enhance some of the detail. I did get the tracks in the back here in, so where the industrial sort of switching area will be, those are all in along the wall, so you can see it comes off the main line here. And there's a way to run around the cars that you're switching and then return them back into these spurs back here. So once I got all that track in, I began work on the scenery. I kind of started along this back wall here. So you can see I painted just some hills on the backdrop. Those are mainly just to go behind the trees that'll be up here. So you can see I've kind of started putting some grass in just to see how it's going to look. But along this whole back wall, you can see there's a nice hillside with some different rock faces. All the rocks I carved. I just mixed up some plaster on there and then carved all the rocks out using just a couple knives and screwdrivers. I found that this one little tiny flathead screwdriver I have actually works really well for getting inside and making some pretty detailed rock faces. So yeah, all the rocks I carved out by hand. So you can see it goes along the wall and then just kind of dead ends there, and then that'll transition into the buildings and more industrial scenery there. But I do plan to put, a line of trees all along the top of these hills to blend it into the backdrop. The green just kind of behind it to make it so you can't see blue through the trees. Over here, I kind of carved, a retaining wall face, sort of more retaining wall looking rather than natural rock, just to kind of break it up a little bit. But all the landforms along this back wall are for the most part done. I did put in a wooden retaining wall along here. And you can see there's actually a gravel road that runs along the tracks and will eventually cross right about in here and then run down along. You can see I have it painted darker down in there, and then it'll come across the foreground and cross and exit the layout right about there. But this gravel road serves the purpose of having a coal loading facility. So you can see I have some coal just piled up there. I'm going to put some conveyors up there, and it's going to be an area where trucks can load some coal into the cars. So the tunnel here you can see is also in construction. So I put a tunnel liner in there. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but I just took some styrofoam and carved some rock texture onto it and then spray painted black, and that's my tunnel liner in there. The portal is just a pre-made tunnel portal that I bought, and then I painted up a little bit. I still have to weather it some. There's a light area there where I got some plaster on it from the rocks, but this still has to be blended in with trees and grass. But right now I'm just working on the rock work and the painting and plaster. You can see between the yard tracks in the front and the main lines in the back, I've done more retaining walls and rock carving. So again, all just hand carved rock work, painted with some washes and dry brushing, just a combination of whatever methods make it produce this look. Over here I'm going to have I have this hill in here that kind of separates the two levels. This will be mainly all tree cover to kind of hide the back track. And then up in the front here, I have blended into the fascia using some Sculptamold. Actually, this is my first time using Sculptamold. I really like it. It's much less messy than plaster. Gives you a little bit more working time, which is pretty neat. You can actually get it really smooth too, which is helpful. So you can see a little bit more rocks along there. This will be covered by an industry that'll be in this area here, but just to kind of transition it well, I put those in there. I did get some of the fascia in, most of the fascia in, going all the way around. This will get painted black eventually. I didn't do this section here yet because I'm still figuring out how the engine service facility is going to go. I need to build a section out. I'm going to actually widen this a little bit from here back just to have more room for engine servicing buildings and whatnot. So I need to get that in still. Coming around this way, I do have the fascia in and roughly cut for where it's going to drop down and my river is going to be. So I did have this foam in here that will most likely be the base for where the river scenery is going to come through. But it's going to be some hills that drop down and come down to the river level. And the other side is going to be steeper. I'm going to have some retaining walls that drop into there. But fascia along here is cut. I'm going to have, you know, a little bit of a hillside drop down in here. You can see I have some foam here. I'm going to put just a very small hill in here is what my plan is. I still have to continue that sculpt mold into here, you know, go further to blend the fascia in, but I just have some paint on some of the hills just to kind of fill it in for now. So still got to continue doing more rock carving and plaster work on the tunnel. As you can see here, I gotta still fill in this area here, but here you can see how I made those tunnel liners. So this is that foam that I kind of glued together, and you might be able to see inside there. You can kind of see the rock texture that's in there. So the tunnel was made, I did a combination of some cardboard lattice and some styrofoam sort of ribs, if you will, just cut to the profile, you know, spaced every 5 inches or so. It's actually all open underneath, so I can still access the track if I need to. So that should work out pretty well. But so far I'm happy with how it's turning out. It's been a lot of plaster work and plaster carving, and there's still a lot more to go. So let me know in the comments if you want to see a video on doing some of this plaster work with the rocks, you know, the painting or carving or, you know, anything related to that. I can probably make a video. I do still have a lot more carving to do, so we're far from finished on that end. I got more of my motive power out just to continue testing more stuff. So far, no derailments. All the track work is, you know, working pretty well. It's all wired. I have feeders on almost every piece of track, so I'm not relying on joints to conduct power. So just a brief update here for update number 2. A lot of scenery work, but so far it's looking really good. So it should end up with a pretty good result here when we get a little bit further. So thanks for watching, and I'll end this video here and get back to work.